Robert is also a musician. I believe he plays the trombone. He's an actor. And when I first met with him, he described his creative side as the way in which to organize his thinking and structure himself, and that was his sort of way of looking at his recovery and really tapping into those skills and those strengths that he had. He's actually, I think, doing a one-man play soon, so no?
No, it's a regular play. But
He's doing a regular play.
But it was written by the director. It's an original comedy.
Okay, so he's going to be in a play. He's been in many plays. Maybe I had the story wrong, but I know that that's a side of him that is very important to him, and I bet he's a very good actor at that. So I think he's going to talk to us about his recovery.
Thank you very much. During my time receiving services, I've had a number of individuals call into question the validity of my disability. And to some it might seem that there is good reason. However, the nature of mental illness is not always clear. The difficulties and symptoms which attend such diseases are not always obvious, and more importantly, are rarely universal. Moreover, the path to healing is not always a straight line. How do you explain music to the deaf or colors to the blind? Because such diseases cannot be seen, they disturb and unsettle us, awakening our fear of the unknown. To one who looks in from the outside, achievements such as mine would seem an aberration. My profound energy, my ambition, and my unending desire to better myself would appear to be a paradox. It would seem that I was healthy, that I had either finally achieved full soundness of mind and body, or that there never had really been a problem at all. But they are blind to the sheer magnitude of effort that it required for me to pull myself from the abyss, the eternal void which had nearly devoured my soul. They are blind to the abundance and the depth of the help and support I needed to draw upon in order to do so. Prior to receiving my current diagnoses or receiving any services, my life truly was a black hole, an endless void of pain, despair, and rage. I was filled with self-loathing and fury at life and at being alive. Everything I had put my hand to, I had failed at. As a son, I was a disappointment. As a soldier, a failure. And at nearly everything else, a quitter. By the fall of 1999, I had been tossed from military service, more or less disowned by my parents, and had wandered as an indigent from place to place, shelter to shelter, and city to city. I was in and out of shelters, programs, and psychiatric hospitals throughout California, Louisiana, and eventually back here in Worcester. Oops. I have seen and experienced things which still give me nightmares. Things you might not believe, even if you saw them with your own eyes. By September of 1999, I had been hospitalized nearly a dozen times for mental health reasons, and had been misdiagnosed or placed on ineffective medications nearly just as often. Yet in September of that year, something changed, profoundly. I had been hospitalized on 8 East at UMass Medical Center. I had stayed there for nearly 2 weeks for evaluation and observation before being discharged, and I left there with a dual diagnoses of bipolar disorder and post-traumatic stress disorder, the same diagnoses I still carry today. More importantly, I left with new prescriptions, a combination that I had never used before. But I still use them now because they work. Since that time, I've only needed to be hospitalized on 3 occasions, and then only for overnight observation. And since 2003, I have not needed to be hospitalized at all. From 8 East, I was released to the Greenhouse program. It was run by staff who believed in challenging their clientele to strive to reach their potential. Not too long after my arrival, the staff encouraged me to apply for both Social Security benefits and DMH services. And not too long after, I received letters of acceptance of services and the award of benefits without any need for appeal, which was very rare at that time. I also applied for college, hoping that I could regroup quickly and not have to remain on the public dole for very long. I was accepted in the fall of 2001. I started classes at Anna Maria College in Paxton and attended until January of 2003. Unfortunately, during my last 2 semesters, I had stopped taking my medications, and as a result began another downward spiral. I first dropped out of several individual classes and simply stopped attending others, and then I finally dropped out altogether. Fetterman, I was back in the hospital for observation, but thankfully, for the last time. It was also not long after arriving at the greenhouse that the human rights officer there encouraged me to begin attending the Human Rights Committee meetings. At first I attended only fairly regularly and only as an observer. However, in January of 2004, Michael Archibald, CHL's Human Rights Coordinator, invited me to become a full member of the committee. And 2 years later, he asked me to help him co-present CHL's staff human rights trainings with him. After residing at the greenhouse, I was transferred to the RAP program, the housing program also run by CHL, and stayed for them for a little less than a year before being transferred once again to the SHARE program. During my stay with RAP, I once again began playing the trombone, and I also began attending the Joy of Music program, a local community music school, for private lessons and jazz classes. When I moved to the SHARE program, staff continued to encourage my involvement in these activities. Not long after, I began to arrange a series of jazz concerts as fundraisers for the program that I'm at, SHARE. Then in June of 2013, I finally became employed again. With the help of CHL's former employment coordinator, Jeff St. Jean, unfortunately he moved on, I applied for and obtained the job at CHL itself as a part-time receptionist for the agency's administrative building. He also had another profound influence on me. Jeff had been a long-time veteran of community theater and had been invited by Alternatives Incorporated to represent CHL at their One Act Play Festival last year. He drafted myself and another young lady to participate with him directing. While there, I met an individual who worked for the Worcester Shakespeare Company and was working as a stage manager both for the company and for that competition. After expressing an interest in auditioning for the company, he encouraged me to do so and later sent me the information that was necessary to do so. Not long after, I received a call offering me the parts of Master George Page in Merry Wives of Windsor and the hapless Antigonus in A Winter's Tale. Thus began my foray into acting. I'm currently working on another play, the one that I was discussing earlier. I sincerely believe that there is no way that I could have made the progress that I've had without the help and support that I've received throughout the years. With only a handful of exceptions, the most profound help I have received came from, nearly exclusively, the staff and administration of Community Health Link, many of whom went far beyond the call of duty. They pushed me, they encouraged me, and they strengthened me. They were the light at the end of my tunnel. When I needed something, anything to hold on to, they helped me to find it. They believed in me, they invested in me, and they gave me not just one, but many reasons to live again. I could not have gotten there without all of you. And so I say, thank you.